Praise God, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Sunday Supper. I'm so blessed and so humble that you would tune in with me this Sunday to uh, learn more about the Bible, learn what's going on, who's doing what, and why are they doing it, and hopefully we understand that through Old Testament we're learning things that we should not repeat, and oftentimes we do repeat these things because we don't know um, the outcome of the things that was happening. So we repeat it, and we see a lot of it going on today. But um, we just continue to do the work of the Lord while we are able to do so. So I know last week we had some transfer issues. What I mean by transfer, we had some issues with the full text that we were studying at the time being transferred over to the platform, and had to correct it this week so that we could pick up from where we left off last week. And I apologize for that. This is the first time that we actually ran into this issue, this problem with this platform, but we're praying that we do not have this issue again. So as we continue studying our Bible, our word, remember this, that um, oftentimes the word is preached in our churches, but they are not fully explained, or we get someone's philosophy of what was happening and all that. So here on the Sunday Supper, we take this word of God and we take it and we actually break it down for you line by line, scripture by scripture, verse by verse, so that you are able to paint the full picture when it comes to putting things into proper context. So I thank you so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's get to work. And this is where we left off last week with the, as I like to call, the adventures of Esau and Jacob. And so we're going to continue with this as we go throughout our lesson today, this evening. So we start out in Genesis chapter 31. Now, if you remember, from the past few weeks, that Jacob was sent away because his brother Esau was very angry with him and wanted to kill him. So Rebekah and Isaac sent Jacob away, and Jacob went to serve Laban, and he served Laban for 14 years because he wanted to marry Rachel, but Laban gave him Leah instead. He, snuck Leah into the tent. In the evening, Jacob didn't realize who he was going into or having intercourse with. And so he ended up having intercourse with Leah first. So that means that now Leah becomes his wife and not Rebekah. And so Jacob complains to Laban, how can you trick me? How did you do this? I wanted Rachel. And Laban tells him that it is not customary for us to marry off the younger, but for the older. Rebecca was more beautiful. She was more beautiful. I'm sorry, Rachel. Rachel was more beautiful than Leah. So he ended up marrying both. But during this time, Rachel could not have children. She was barren. So he ended up having more children by servants. And we learned that through the history of this family with our friend Abraham, our father Abraham. He also was given a servant to have intercourse with and to have a child with. And that's where we get Hagar and we get Ishmael. They became a part of the family, and Ishmael was blessed simply because of who his father was. And so now we get into the point where we have Jacob, who, having to serve his father-in-law, decides he's going to flee in the middle of the night with all his things, and he hides. And he had a 3-day head start on Laban, who decided to chase them because there were things that were stolen from him. And as he caught up with them, Rachel was sitting down and she would not get up. And so she was like, "You would not make me get up, and I am on my menstrual cycle." And, she got away with having what he was looking for. Esau went to Ishmael and married one of Ishmael's daughters. And that wouldn't happen that way because he realized who his father did not like at that point in time. So he went and did what was opposite of what would be um, customary for him to do. And so now we're into this setting where the adventures are still happening. The events are still being recorded. And so let's get started with chapter 31 and verse number 37. And it says that now that you have felt around in all my stuff, he's still talking to, guess who? His father-in-law. What have you found of all your household stuff? Set it here before my relatives and your relatives that they may judge between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes, small animals, and your female goats have not cast their young, and I haven't eaten the rams of your flocks. So remember, Jacob, he was in charge of, he was to separate all of the spotted animals from those that were blemished free or free of blemish. And so somehow he made it happen where all that were born with spots or blemishes. So he made that happen. And so as he made that happen, they became his flock, and all the clean ones stayed with Laban. Come to find out later on that, whoa, hold up, something's going on because none of these are blemish free. And so Jacob's flock grew. Laban's did not. So Laban, you got to understand, you have to put your mindset here and wonder what is going on. Why is this happening? And this guy he's stealing from me at this point. All right. And so that which was torn of animals, I didn't bring to you. I bore its loss. Of my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. This was my situation in the day. The drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. So I could not even sleep at this point. And he said, these 20 years I have been in your house. I've served you 14 years for your two daughters. 7 of them I didn't want to serve because you tricked me, but I did anyway. And 6 years for your flock. And you have changed my wages 10 times. This is the trickery that is going on. But wait, hold on. This is the same trickery, or not the same, but the trickery, slickster, shyster, Jacob is trying to plead his case, but at the same time, he did some stuff not to his father-in-law, but he was shysty and had trickery going toward his brother, stole his brother's birthright, stole his brother's blessings, and now you're angry because you had got fooled this time. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the God of the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands and rebuked you last night. God has seen what I had done for you. He has seen the labor that I put in. He has seen the state that you had me in. He has seen what you had done to me. And he rebuked you last night. So Laban answered Jacob, the daughters are my daughters. The children are my children. The flocks are my flocks. And all that you see is mine. What can I do today to these, my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? Laban is trying to take claim of everything that is in Jacob's possession at this time. He said, everything is mine. Even they are my daughters, and their children are mine, and all this flock, they are all mine. All these servants, they are all mine. Nothing is yours. Ah, my goodness. Now come, let's make a covenant. Here we go. Let's make an agreement between you and I. Let it be for a witness between me and you. Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. Jacob said to his relatives, gather stones. They took stones and made a heap. They ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galeed. So we have two different names here. We have this thing, this one place being called by two different names. And Galeed means the witness heap. So what he's saying is this heap is in witness of what this agreement or this agreement that we're about to make between each other. And so let's do this. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watched between me and you when we were absent one from another. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take wives in addition to my daughters, no man is with us. Behold, God is witness between me and you. So everything that you do, God is the witness of what is happening. And you don't want to anger God. You know the agreement that we have. Come on now. Laban said to Jacob, see this heap? And you see the pillar which I have set between me and you? May this heap be a witness, and the pillar be a witness that I will not pass over this heap to you, and that you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me for harm. No one will go past this point. We will not go past this point to harm each other. No. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. Then Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Jacob offered a sacrifice in the mountain and called his relatives to eat bread. They ate bread and stayed all night in the mountain. Early in the morning, Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Laban departed and returned to his place. So Laban, remember, Laban chased them. Laban was in pursuit of them. He found them. He caught up with them. Even though they had a head start, he still caught up with them. But then there had to be an agreement made, because you have to understand that Jacob was not going to willingly give up his possessions to Laban. Laban said, everything that you have belongs to me. The daughters, their children, the flocks, they all belong to me. So now there has to come an agreement. In order for peace between the two to exist, there has to be an agreement that has to be made. And this is something like what we would have today. We call it forgiveness. There could be strife between two people, or sometimes we call it letting it go. There could be strife between two people. And as the strife between the two people becomes so great, it could lead to oh my goodness. It could lead to two people having an altercation. And as they're having this altercation, you have to understand that anger is building even more. But someone has to be able to forgive another and come to an agreement to be like, look here, I understand, there was an ought between us, and there were things going on between us, but I am going to let it go for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of us being who we are, friends or whatever, relatives or whatever. I am going to let this go because I understand that, some people do things and they don't even realize what they do. But however, you and I were cool. So that becomes an agreement. And then there could be some stipulation that said, I will never let you borrow money again, or whatever the case may be, whatever ought there was. But that is the agreement that they would have with each other so that peace may come and be in existence between the relationship. So the strife is not there, so that the anger is not there. It's releasing you of any anger. So we have these two having this agreement, releasing them of any wrongdoing, or having to owe Jacob having to owe Laban, things, the people, flock, or whatever. And so he returned to his place and went home in peace. And that was the rest of Genesis 31, where we left off from last week. So now we're in Genesis 32, and we're still continuing on with the brothers, the twins. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's army." He called the name of the place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers in front of him to Esau, his brother, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. Now, Jacob is sending a messenger to the brother who is still fuming because of what was done, who is angry because of what was done, who had the feelings that he wanted to kill his brother because of what was done. So now Jacob decides, all right, maybe this is the time that we call peace, and maybe this is the time that we call it truce. All right, so he sends a messenger to Esau, messengers to Esau. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you shall tell my lord Esau. This is what your servant Jacob says. I have lived as a foreigner with Laban and stayed until now." So I've been serving as a stranger in the house of Laban all this time. All right, so I've been slave to him. I did what he told me to do. It wasn't that I was on a vacation sitting on the beach chilling for all these years. I've been working. And so he says, I have cattle, donkeys, flocks, male servants, and female servants. I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find favor in your sight. I'm telling you, I have all these things that I may find favor in your sight, that you shall take away your anger from me. This is what he really wants to happen between him and Esau. He wants, please take your anger away from me, and I'm willing to come to a compromise, brother, my Lord. So he said, the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau. He is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. Wait a minute. You're telling me that my brother is coming to meet me, but he is bringing 400 men with him? What is his plan? What is going on? Then Jacob was greatly afraid and was distressed. He divided the people who were with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels into two companies. What is Jacob up to? We have Esau coming, but Esau is coming with the army. He is not coming alone. He is making sure that he is prepared for whatever trick that, his brother Jacob may try to pull, something, unfair or whatever. You done took so much from me now, I can't trust you. And he said, if Esau comes to the one company and strikes it, then the company which is left will escape. Then look, if Esau comes in and just starts fighting this one company, let the other one get out of here. Because if he's coming with 400 men, we're not going to be able to defeat him. He is angry. He is very angry, and he is going to do things that he would not normally do, but he's angry, and rightfully so. Jacob said, God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your relatives, and I will do you good. I am not worthy of the least of all the kindnesses and of all the truth which you have shown to your servant. For with just my staff, I crossed over this Jordan. Does that sound familiar to you? And now I have become two companies. I have crossed over the Jordan with just my staff, and I have split all of my possessions. He's asking for God to help him in this time. He has great weight on his shoulder because he realizes what is happening. Well, he thinks he realized what is happening. And my gosh, my brother, he is going to take not just my company, but because he wanted to kill me at this time, he just may take my life. So he says, please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and strike me and the mothers with children. Isaac, Jacob. Jacob is sorely afraid of what is going to be coming when his brother reaches him. Can you imagine this weight that is on him? He think he knows. He's like, man, my brother, he's really going to take everything that I have. He's going to kill the women. He's going to kill the children. He's going to kill the flocks. He's going to kill everything. And God, I don't want this to happen. I really want to make a truce with my brother. Please deliver me from his hand that is going to strike. Please, God, help me. You said, still talking, you said, I will surely do you good and make your offspring as the sand of the sea. Remember, this is the same thing that was said to Abraham here. So we have a lot, the covenant that he made, it is still continuing. Like he said, he's going to make this covenant with not just him, but with his children and his children. And his covenant shall continue on through all the generations, because that is an agreement that God had with Abraham and his people. So he said, which can't be counted because there are just so many. He said he stayed there that night and took from that which he had with him a present for Esau, his brother. This is more, it's a present, but it's more of a bribe if you look at it. Please don't hurt me. I'm going to give you these things. And so he took with him 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milk camels and their coats, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 foals. He delivered them into the hands of his servants. Every herd by itself, and said to his servants, pass over me, and put a space between her and herd. He commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau, my brother, meets you and asks you, saying, whose are these before you? Who are these things before you? Then you shall say, they are your servant, Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. Behold, he also is behind us. So, again, this has to be, this is like a bribe. Please, brother, don't kill me. I'm going to give you these things. These are a gift from me to you. Please spare my life. He commanded also the second and the third, and all that followed the herd, saying, this is how you shall speak to Esau when you find him. You shall say, not only that, but behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. If he take these things, maybe he will accept me. Maybe, I will be in good graces with him again. And so the present passed over before him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. He rose up that night and took his two wives and his two servants. These are the four women that he has children by, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them over the stream and sent over that which he had. Jacob was left alone. Now, this is the part that many people talk about. So let's truly get this one together. Jacob was left alone. Everything has gone before him. He's left alone. And he wrestled with a man there until the breaking of the day. He's wrestling with a man. When he saw that he didn't prevail against the man touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled. So he's wrestling with this man. He cannot overtake this man. This man is overpowering him. He has the moves, the arm bars, the rear naked chokes. He has the top mount, the full mount, side mount. He has all these things going on, and he's just beating Jacob, just wrestling with him. The man said, "Let go, for the day breaks." Jacob said, "I won't let you go unless you bless me. I won't let you go until you bless me." He said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." He said, "Your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have fought with God and with men and have prevailed." Watch this. So Jacob have fought with so many people and have prevailed. But these fighting isn't always physical. But even if he fought, even if it was verbal, even if it was, through anger or whatever it may have been, whatever type of fight he was in, he was able to prevail. And we understand that God was the one who helped him to prevail against whatever was happening before him. So his name now changes. His name is being changed, just like Abram was changed to Abraham, Sarai to Sarah. The names are changing based upon obedience to God, based upon maturity, based upon growth, based upon doing what the Lord would have you to do. So now his name, because of everything that he has done, he's wrestling, and because of his being able to prevail. But this is here because his name is now Israel. And as his name is changed to Israel, we know now where the country Israel, where that name comes from. It comes from Jacob. And now, right now, at this time, Jacob has 11 sons. And we will find out what those sons become later on. But here we go, continuing on. Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. He said, why? Why is it that you ask what my name is? He blessed him there. Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, which means the face of God. For he said, I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. The sun rose on him as he passed over Peniel, and he limped because of his thigh. Therefore, the children of Israel, or Israel, don't eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the hollow of the thigh to this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew of the hip. Now, just to talk about this sinew. The sinew is an important part of the body. It plays a very vital role in the movement and the mechanical function of the body. If the sinew gets damaged, then there becomes, just like with Jacob here or Israel, there becomes a limp that happens, or damage to the body, or a part of the body will not function properly. And this sinew is a part that we really need to take care of. But because of what happened, Jacob's people will no longer eat of the sinew of the body of the animal in which they're eating. The sinew, they will not eat it. They will not partake of it, because it becomes, at this point, it truly becomes a holy part of it, in a memorization or memorial or commemoration. There we go. A commemoration of the wrestling event that took place between Jacob and what he would call God. He said because he had seen God face to face, so he is equating the wrestling that he had with the man as being an event of him wrestling with God. So now Jacob becomes Israel. If you never knew, you know now. So now we're going to 33. Chapter 33. And here we're going to truly find out when the two meet up. When Jacob or Israel meets up with his brother Esau, what happens? Do they go to war? Does Esau strike the first company? Or do they actually reconcile the issues that they were having? Let's find out. So Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming. And with him he saw 400 men. This is an army. This is a big army. And just imagine if you were standing and you had all your people, and all of a sudden there comes around you a man that you know was out to kill you at one point, and he's coming with a lot of men, like 400 men behind him. I know we would probably be like, oh, I don't have enough to take this guy on. Whatever happens at this point. And so now Jacob is in this predicament where now his brother is coming with a great army. And so he divided the children between Leah and Rachel and the two servants. They're all his children. And even though they're called servants, but because he had intercourse with them, they do become his wives. So Leah, and Rachel and the two servants, dividing all 11 children, all 11 sons at this point between the four of them. And he put the servants and their children in front. Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph at the rear. So if we look at it, we can look at the ranking of how he was, we could say, willing to lose his possession. So we know that he loved Rachel more than he loved the rest because she was the one that he wanted before any of the others came along. And that was the one, Rachel was the one that he served 7 years for, the first 7 years, but he ended up getting tricked and getting laid up. So he himself passed over in front of them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. Esau missed his brother. He missed him. He really cherished his brother. I mean, they're twins. They spent 9 months in the womb together. There has to be some type of bond there. And so Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, fell on his neck, kissed him, and they wept. This is the point of forgiveness happening. This is the point of the reconciliation of the family happening. This is the point where now love takes over and hate and anger leaves. This has to be a beautiful sight. And if you want to try to visualize it, we could actually think about the movie The Color Purple, when Celie and Nettie comes back together after so many years, and they ran to each other and they hugged and they kissed, they missed each other. We can look at it that way. And that's how it is. So he lifted up his eyes and he saw the women and the children and said, who are these with you? He said, the children whom God has graciously given your servant. In other words, these are my children, but they are your nephews. Then the servants came near with their children, and they bowed themselves. So now this is an introduction. Leah also and her children came near and bowed themselves. After them, Joseph came near with Rachel, and they bowed themselves. Esau said, what do you mean by all this company which I met? Jacob said, to find favor in your sight. This is what I mean. Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Let that which you have be yours. If this is not an example of how we should treat one another today, of how even though we may have family strifes, we may have an ought against one another or whatever it may be, if we don't realize that these two brothers who was almost at a point of fighting to death are able to come together and allow for love to warm their hearts, missed each other that long so much because Jacob feared running into Esau. But there came a time where God had to warm Israel's heart, or Jacob's heart. Had to warm his heart enough to know to send a messenger to Esau. As he sent them to Esau, He now knew where his brother was, and they were able to meet and let bygones be bygones. Now watch this. Jacob said, "Please no. If I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my presents at my hand, because I have seen your face as one see the face of God, and you were pleased with me. Please take the gift that I brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." He urged him, and he took it. Even though he did not want to take it. It's like you trying to give somebody $20, for like giving you a ride somewhere. And they like, no, 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 don't worry about it. It's cool. I got it. I got enough money. I have gas, whatever. You're like, no, no, no. I insist that you take it. And the person ends up, okay, all right, I'll just take it. And that's what's happening here. So these two are finally able to come back together to be brothers. And Jacob gives Esau a gift, but Esau said, "Look, I have enough, brother. I have enough riches here. I don't need any more." But now he is given more for what he has been through. But watch this. It's a message moment. I know in life, and sometimes we go through a lot of things. And sometimes things are taken away from us. Just like with Esau, his birthright was sold. His blessings were all given to Jacob. So Esau left. But while Esau was gone, he gained some things. He gained what he needed. So, he worked for it. This was Esau. This was the man. And he did what he had to do to survive. And through survival, God also looking after him, he was able to acquire things. But now he allows for love to live in his heart. God expands his territory. And God is looking to expand our territory also, whether it be with spiritual knowledge, spiritual growth, and sometimes with some physical things. But we try not to focus on the material and physical things, because it's always about the spiritual principles that we must grow from. And that is where we truly must understand that God operates in the spiritual realm, because he is a spirit. So if we take on the fruit, talking about nowadays, if we take on the fruit of the spirit and we do the work of the Lord, things will come to you. Continuing on. Not here to preach, here to teach. 33:12. Esau said, "Let's take our journey and let's go, and I will go before you." Where are we going? Jacob said to him, "My Lord, know that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with me have their young. And if they overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. If you work them hard, one day they're fragile. Take care. We have to take care of them. Because if I do too much with them, if I push them too far, if I push them too long, and I don't do what is necessary to keep themselves safe, then they all will die. So please let my Lord pass over before his servant, and I will lead on gently, according to the pace of the livestock that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord to Seir." Esau said, "Let me now leave with you some of the people who are with me." He said, "Why?" "Let me find favor in your sight, of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. So now these two are traveling. Jacob wants to go, but he wants to go at a pace that is safe for his people and his flock. And Esau says, look, I'm going to give you some of these people, and they may travel with you. And we know that more hands help. As they say, more hands make light work. So more hands on deck for him. So 33 and 17, Jacob traveled to Succoth, built himself a house, and made shelters for his livestock. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth, which means shelters or booths. The booth is where, or the shelter is where they would keep all their livestock safe and out of the environment, out of the climates and all that stuff, and they were being protected. And so Jacob came in his city, came in peace. This is important. Came in peace to the city of Shechem, which is the land of Canaan. So the land that God sworn to give to Abraham and his people. Remember that. And that's where he is. And then he came from Padan Aram, and encamped before the city. He bought the parcel of ground where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. He erected an altar there, and this is what they love to do. Whenever God delivers them from something, wherever God takes them to a place where they are to settle or whatever, they build an altar to God. I'm going to continue on, and I will come back to that after the end here. He erected an altar there and called it El Elohe Israel, which means God, the God of Israel. The God of Israel is mighty. That is what those words mean. El meaning God, Elohe, Israel, God of Israel. That's what those words. We know that in the Bible, the word El is there in different places, and El meaning God. And yes, so that is the end of 33, chapter 33. Now let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about this altar. And because at an altar, you will make a sacrifice to God. It is you're making this sacrifice because you are thanking God for what he had delivered you from and where he has delivered you to. And with Jacob had went through years and years of being away from this place. He had spent 20 years doing work for Laban. He's been tricked with his wages 10 times. He's escaped from him. He's been in pursuit of. He has done all kinds of things. He has actually had his life pretty much flashing before his eyes when it came to his brother. But God spared him. God wrestled with him. As God wrestled with him, God touched the hollow part of his thigh, which was in the area of the sinew. And as he put his hand on the sinew, now it creates a limp in the walk of Jacob. And this is why the people do not eat the sinew of an animal today, simply because of that. That becomes a holy place of the body. It is an important place. Again, it is vital for this part to be intact because it is vital for the movement and the function of the body. So with that, we understand that Jacob or Israel been through some things to get to this point in time. So he builds an altar and he makes a sacrifice. Now, with that, we have to ask ourselves today. I'm going to give you a little message at the end here. We have to ask ourselves today, what altar have we built for God when he takes us or as he helps us to get through many things in our lives? Do we go back and give him thanks once we've been delivered for something? Or do we just keep going like as if he still owes us something? Do we turn around and say thank you? Do we build an altar in our heart? Meaning, do we give up something in our heart for him? Do we cast our cares on him? We should. And we should because he cares for us. So the things that we should sacrifice, and some things may be the pride that we give up. Some things will be ego that we give up. Some things may be selfishness and all kinds of things. And should we sacrifice these things? Or do we sacrifice the things that we love, giving up the things that we love, things that we know we truly love it, but do we love God enough to let it go? Do we love God enough to do we love our Father enough that even though these are our children, do we still give them to God? I don't mean taking them out and sacrificing them on an altar with a knife and all that. I mean, do we truly give the lives of our children to God? Do we say, you know what, God, I'm doing my best with them, but I know that what I can do is only limited, but what you can do is unlimited. So, Father, I'm going to present my children back to you so that you may continue to minister unto them, continue to lead and guide them so that they can be brought into a place of success and humbleness and prosperity and all that. And when I say prosperity, I don't mean all physical prosperity, cars, houses, and all that. No, I mean, are we given the prosperity of love? That means, are we spreading love to other people? Are we walking in humility? Are we walking in integrity? Are we walking uprightly? Are we walking the ways that you would have us to walk? But I have to give my children unto you in order for you to help them to get there. I could be the living example, but you will always be the centermost part of what they need in this life. Is it that, God, I'm going through a situation right now. I'm going to give this situation to you right here on this altar, oh God. I'm going to allow for you to meddle in it, oh God. Do what needs to be done so that it can be done in your will, in your sight, and how you would want it done. Because as long as I keep my hand in this issue, as long as I keep my hand in this problem, I know, God, that I will completely destroy it, mess it up, ruin it, or have it whatever. But however, if I allow for you to deal with it and with the leading of the Holy Spirit within me, I will be able to do what you tell me to do. It's a lot, but we have to remember God is our source. We are learning that these people, we're learning that Abraham, we're learning that Isaac, we're learning that Jacob, we even learned that Noah, all these people relied on the source, that is God, to get them through whatever they were going through. And that's why he is known as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and now the God of Jacob, or betterwise known as Israel. Amen. So that's our lesson for today. That was the continuation of 31, chapters 32 and chapter 33. So I pray that you all receive something this evening. But I want to give you a little homework to do this week. I want you to think about who you have had issues with, who you have not forgiven, who you hold an ought against or strife against or whatever. And I want you to truly go to the Lord. And I want you to pray. And I want you to pray for a way of reconciliation. The way may be, maybe you don't have to deal with them anymore. Maybe it is just that you free yourself of that feeling that you have toward them. And that is the feeling that you understand that they will be who they will be, but that's not who you are. And as long as you hold on to these feelings that God is, it's finding a hard way for him to truly get to you, because hatred is there. Unforgiveness is there. Notice when Jacob was willing to take himself to a point of reconciliation or a point of ready to reconcile with his brother, God began to move on his behalf and help him get through that feeling and those things that were going on, warm Esau's heart so that they could come together. So think about that this week. And as you think about that this week, just go through the lesson again. Hear what you can get from it. Pull from it what you can pull from it. And there may be another message in there that you may not have heard or even focused on before. So I thank you all for tuning into this week's Sunday Supper. And I pray that you all were blessed by it. But for now, this is all for now. So remember, here at Sunday Supper, there is always room for you here at the table. And please always remember to live your life on purpose. So be blessed, everyone. See you again right here next week at the table.